welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Beer and Skittles podcast. This week is going to be a very different episode from what we've done previously, um, with not as many big releases out this week and not so much news. We decided to take this time and hit you guys with a concept that we've talked about before. You want to
Yeah,
explain?
and before we get into the concept, just to let you guys know that this entire episode is based around comedies. First, we're going to get into what our top 10 favorite comedy movies are, and then we're gonna get into a concept that we'll explain later in the video. So just hold on, wait for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So
And I will preface to this is our personal favorite comedies. This is by no means what we think are the greatest, comedy films out there, as far as like, you know, story wise, I guess, if that
yeah,
makes
and
sense.
especially I feel like comedies are hard to gauge, and we've talked about this before because there's so many different criterias you can go through. I feel like between comedy and horror, those are two genres that it's hard to categorize and say what is the best because there's some that I feel like hit hard and have great messages and whatnot and might have standout
Yeah.
performances, and then there's ones that will have me dying laughing on the floor for 2 hours straight. So it's like, well, what is technically better because one did comedy better, but one was technically a better movie. So it's all subjective in that point as well. Uh,
Yeah, mine are by no means like, oh, I think this movie should win Best Picture. But these are movies that when I watch them, I laugh, especially as I get closer to my number one. These are movies that I watch, and every time I watch them, I laugh as if it was the first time I'm seeing it.
yeah. So on that note, let's jump right into it, starting with number 10. So for my number 10, I have The Other Guys, which
Ooh,
is a movie
so
with
low.
it is so low, but there's a lot of great picks, dude. And like this has been so hard. Like I have an honorable mentions list that I'm not gonna mention because it's too long. It's longer than the list itself. Like to sort
100%.
to sort through all of this was insane. Especially when you get down to certain people like Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, Seth Rogen, who have put out so many great hits that are on like the same vibe. So you're like, what's funnier?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have The Other Guys. It's a movie that I think it's so quotable to me. Uh, Mark Wahlberg is it's an earlier appearance of him where we see him in comedy, and he's hilarious. He's hilarious in this movie. Him and Will Ferrell feed off of each other so well, and just the supporting cast around them too. Like the movie opens up with Dwayne Johnson and Samuel Jackson
It
thinking
is
they're the main
it is
cast.
one
Like,
of the funniest openings to a comedy because you're introduced to Sam Jackson and The Rock thing like, oh, these are our main characters. This is
yeah.
gonna be awesome. And the beginning also plays out like an action movie. It's totally
Oh,
not a comedy
blew their whole
until
budget. Blew their whole budget on the intro.
in just the intro. And it's like, and that's like even the running joke for the whole beginning is like aim for the bushes. Like, why did they do it? It wasn't even an awning. Like,
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then you also have Michael Keaton as the captain.
who
Listen,
is
guys,
like
don't go chasing waterfalls. Is that a TLC reference?
I don't know what you're talking about. Was that intentional? Did you? And throughout the whole like that running gag of him, and it's also like
Oh, it's one of my favorite gags in all of comedy.
there was also a period of time where like we weren't seeing Michael Keaton in a lot of stuff, and he's had a serious comeback. But I want to say this was even before he did Birdman, um, where he had his big like resurgence or whatever. So like
Yeah.
it was weird that like he was like in this
Yeah,
playing the police. It was like, what is Michael
but
Keaton doing
he
here?
was hilarious by all standards. And again, the whole TLC thing is one of my favorite things in all of comedy. We quote it all the time. Just be like, hey guys, remember, creep,
Creep.
creep. Oh, come on. You
Nobody
don't
says
say
creep
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 like
unless
that.
you're referencing TLC.
Even when he takes away Will Ferrell's gun, he gives him the
Yeah.
wooden one. Then he gives him the whistle at the end. Blow this, and somebody will come with a real weapon to help you.
All right. Number 10, what do you got?
I probably have a movie you don't have on your list at all, but I went Rush Hour.
It's in the honorable mentions. Like I said, it was a it was a
It it
tough it was a
it was
tough
really
one.
tough. Like, I know my top ones as I was getting to 10. I was like, what? what's another movie that I really love? I can watch it again and again. It's fun to watch. And Rush Hour, it's hilarious. Um, there's a lot of action in it, which is fun, and just the chemistry between Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan in that movie is so great. I mean, look, it got two sequels, and the chemistry
Yeah.
never diminished across those movies either. Like they worked so well together.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's one of those picks that we're talking about earlier where it's not just funny. Like obviously Chris Tucker's
Yeah,
funny, Jackie Chan is funny because he's with Chris Tucker and they feed off each other. But there's good story to that and good performances throughout. And I think
yeah,
it's genuinely, I'm not going to say, it's like award winning, but it is a good movie. Like genuinely
yeah,
a good movie.
yeah. And there's a lot of funny scenes within that trilogy, and there's a couple other movies on my list that there are funny moments within like that series of movies that I
Mhm.
love. But just going back to the original Rush Hour, it's so good, and it's another cop movie. It's another cop comedy,
Yeah. So we
like
both
the
we
other
both
guys.
have cop comedies in our number 10 spot.
Yeah.
That's cool. And honestly, to keep up with it on my 9 spot, maybe I guess cop comedies are really funny. Um I have White Chicks.
So we agree. I actually have White Chicks at number 9, and yeah,
You
it is
do?
definitely it's a different type of cop movie because they're undercover the
Yeah,
whole
but
time.
it still is. And the ending shows that, of course.
Yeah,
Um but oh my god, this movie is so funny. It's probably my favorite projects by the Wayne Bros. I mean, oh my god, like
it is.
you took two black men, two African Americans, and you turn them into valley white girls. Like the
And it is
concept here
the
alone is hysterical.
and one of the funniest things to come out of that too from your supporting cast was Terry Crews.
Oh my god, the whistle dance! I will go anywhere and just
The
get some glow
fact
sticks
that
and
he's
go.
so infatuated, with her, and the ending too of that when he finds
Yeah,
out and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a man," and he's like, "You're not white." Like that's what he was mad
yeah,
about, not the fact that he wasn't a woman. Is like, "You're not white." Um,
yeah. And it also speaks to so much of a different time. Like that movie gets so into just a lot of concepts that I don't think that can be pulled off today. I love
yeah,
it by all standards, and I
it's
wish we still could, but
it
it's
is
so
so
funny.
funny. Like even the little scenes of like they did so well of like you could see they were like, oh, we gotta play these, we gotta play this girl, whatever. Um, the scene when they're in the car and they start listening to rap,
Yeah, you
like,
can
yeah, you can
say
say
it
it.
as long
No
as no
one's
one's
around.
around.
When they're showing like, oh, how do you use these toys?
Oh, and
And all of a
I
sudden they
hate
don't want to do it.
I hate that that scene's cut out because you can only get that scene on like streaming services.
Yeah.
But like it's so funny, and even the supporting cast, the girls in the movie, I don't remember all their names.
Yeah.
But like when they're in the changing room, like oh, it's back Fat Betty, like it's and they're like dealing with all these girl problems, and they're like, I don't know what to do right now.
Or yeah, after he has the cheese and like then
Yeah,
blows up the bathroom, and like it. So there's so many great scenes in that. The scene with the girls when they're going back and forth, and there's the other rich girls that are real snobby.
yeah.
They're going back and forth. It's like, oh, but it's the Wayne brothers that you're trying to diss, and
Yeah, so they got those hood comebacks, like
uh,
like where they're just dissing you off of random stuff. Some of them don't make sense, but it's hilarious.
the
So they were
powdered the
doing that.
powdered milk joke is still a
Yeah,
classic. That is the funniest joke in that movie.
so classic. And then you even in the dance scene, you have them doing the kid and play. They're like, where are these white girls learning the kid and play?
Yeah.
uh,
What do
all
you
right,
have for 8?
8. I have, which is hold on, let me double check this, but this is the only sequel that I have on here. Usually sequels don't own up to the original. I don't think that's a secret within the movie industry as
Interesting.
a
I don't think
whole.
I have a sequel at all on mine.
Well, so this one was tough because I love both these movies, but this one I just think was funnier. Ted 2.
Okay. Okay.
Ted 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 2. I know we've talked about this. Obviously the writer for this was Seth MacFarlane. And in the first movie, he does great. It's hilarious, whatever.
Yeah.
But Seth MacFarlane also wrote Family Guy. So then when you get into Ted 2, he takes on a Family Guy approach where he has all these cutaways and random skits, and like he'll just bring in random characters and whatnot. And it's like, this is hilarious. Like, this is
It
what I
is
wanted.
it is definitely Ted 2 is definitely more of a extended live action Family Guy episode.
Yes. Yeah, it's
You
hilarious.
definitely get those skits, that party right at at the beginning with Flash Gordon. It's like, yeah, I just did coke with some guy in the bathroom, but you couldn't tell who it was, and then it cuts to the guy, and like you can
Yeah.
totally tell, and jumps out the window. Like it's that Family Guy. Uh, like it's the same skits. That's that process of like just cut away to the joke and then come back.
Yeah. And
Uh,
like when they dumped the
Jay Leno.
laptop,
Yeah,
they, they
yep,
dumped the
the
laptop in the
laptop.
ocean. Most ridiculous thing.
It's
Oh,
so ridiculous.
I was literally quoting this earlier. Freaking when Mark Wahlberg's on the stand, he's like, "Other people got rights. Steven Tyler, what's that? Some soccer mom looking Goonie monster?"
Your Honor, I'll allow it. Like
It's great. It's great.
it really is. It really is it is a hilarious movie.
All right, number 8. What do you got?
This is a very controversial movie, and you probably
All
know
right.
what I'm about to say based off of that. But having rewatched it, more
Oh wait,
recently,
I know what you're doing.
it's Tropic Thunder,
Yeah, I know what you're
and
doing.
a lot of people. I don't know how like frequently people are going back to rewatch Tropic Thunder, and not to give it hate, to rewatch it because it's funny. It has an amazing cast.
No, it does, and it's funny that you said that because as of recent, I have seen a surgeons online where people are talking about Tropic Thunder, and they're like, "How is this okay?" And I was like, "It seems like you didn't watch the movie then, because it's kind of the point. The point is that
Yes,
none of what they are doing and who they are is okay, but this
exactly.
is Hollywood. So like when you say like, it's more like when people read a headline and roll with it. You didn't read the article, so then now
100%.
you're not supporting the right information. So like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is in blackface. That's the point.
But
He's
if you watch the movie too, you realize in the movie he got surgery to literally darken his skin.
yeah,
Like it was such an extreme, but that was the whole point, was like how far actors go, and look at the extreme that that was the satire of it.
yeah,
Um and it's just, aside from Robert Downey Jr., who's hilarious in the movie, Jack Black, Ben Stiller, you know, Danny McBride's in it, Bill Hader's in this, Matthew McConaughey, Tom Cruise, which is actually one of my favorite Tom Cruise roles ever, is this movie. He's got like the big hands for no reason. Um, in the scene where he yells at them, like after they've been taken hostage, when he yells at them over the phone, "I will rain down hellfire." That is one of my favorite scenes in a comedy,
yeah.
and it's
I
one of my
mean,
favorite Tom Cruise scenes.
it's freaking legendary, and it's also like it's such a spectacle at the same time. Like it's funny,
Yeah,
but it's also such a spectacle, which you also don't always get out of comedy movies. So for anybody that again condemns this movie, with what we just said in mind, please go back and rewatch it. Laugh at it a
yeah,
little bit, because that's the point, to laugh at the messed up things and realize the errors of them, because the point was to show that they were wrong.
right. What do you got for number 7?
7. All right. So this movie took the nation by storm when it came out. So The Hangover.
Okay, yeah,
So funny when this movie first came out. I mean, I don't have numbers for like comedy box offices, but The Hangover has to be up there. I mean, I remember being a kid when this came out and literally like watching over the stair banister trying to see this movie because I heard about how funny it was.
Zach Galifianakis, Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, and a surprise cameo by Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson, hilarious. And we can't forget the funniest person in there,
Oh,
Ken Jeong.
Ken Jeong. Ken
Ken
Jeong,
Jeong.
who has a much smaller role in the first one, compared
Yeah,
to the sequels, but he is hilarious.
hilarious. And even like,
Actually, Mike Epps as
yeah,
well.
Mike Epps is
Mike
in there.
Epps,
Yeah,
yeah.
freaking
Black Doug.
Black Doug. Oh, come on, man. Freaking oh yeah, but freaking Ken Jeong, dude, so funny. I mean, he had a smaller role in that one, but every scene he was in was hilarious. And like the second and third one isn't like as funny, but anytime he's on scene, I'm like, this is the best scene in the movie. He is
Him
such a
and
great comedy
Zach
actor.
Galifianakis are so funny together,
Yeah,
in the sequels, that I laugh out loud every time I watch The Hangover.
yeah.
Um, at number 7, I have a movie that also uh, swept the nation in like by storm. Um, it was very controversial. It was all over the news, and
Ooh,
because of the controversy, it
I already
only
know.
made this movie bigger. The Interview.
Oh my god! And now that I'm looking at my list, I hate that it's not on here. Everybody know that the interview's on my list. It's somewhere in here because you're not going to hear it later. But oh, dude, that is a movie that I watch probably like once a month, and I laugh, dying laughing every time.
I remember when like the trailer first came out, all of a sudden it was, this movie can't be released. You know, the dictator of North Korea has said we're not, don't release this movie. I will attack. And theaters pulled it. Every theater across the nation pulled this movie. It wasn't getting
Yeah,
released, and
there
Netflix
was
said,
very select theaters that actually because I was
"Well,
looking for it and I was like,
it
oh,
was
I
after
can
the
watch it
fact."
2 hours away. Like,
And that was even after the fact, because when they pulled it, Netflix said, "You know what? We'll do it."
yeah,
And it only, like, all of that only built the hype around the movie. And when everybody sat down, and I laughed so hard
oh,
watching that
dude.
movie. Randall Park is so good.
Legendary performance, not just as comedy, but legendary performance, period.
100%. And it's a Seth Rogen movie. It's laugh out loud funny. Like the scene when they first get there and they lose the poison strip, and then they have to get another one, and there's the tiger, like
The
just all
tiger.
of that build. It's like, what is happening here? It's so outrageous.
Yeah, there's so much I want to quote from it right now, but I got to keep my language under control. But oh my god,
Also,
the movie's so quotable
perfect usage. Like, I anytime I hear Fireworks by Katy Perry, I
every
think of
time,
that movie
every time.
every time. Every time.
uh, so what are we at? Number six.
6.
Six. All right. At my number six, I have. I want to say this is possibly my favorite Adam Sandler movie,
Ooh,
The Water Boy.
yeah.
Waterboy
Yeah.
is such a good one. Another thing you're gonna hear me repeat a lot here is gonna be it's so quotable because I think that's what makes comedy movies so great. Actually, I feel like what's what makes movies great in general,
And
being
I think that's
quotable.
where, when you mentioned earlier, like with comedy and with horror, it's how scared did it make you?
Yeah,
And with comedy, it's what was the funniest quote the joke? What was the joke that made? And
yeah.
if the
To
more
me,
jokes it has, that the
the way
better.
if you can remember the jokes when you leave the theater, then it did what it was supposed to do. Like you're supposed to
100%.
turn those jokes into inside jokes with your friends after you leave. Like
Yeah.
all of it is like it's supposed to be a whole thing. So you'll hear me
It,
say time and time again for like almost every movie on here. It's so quotable because that's a big part of my criteria when I'm making this list. Um,
Nothing better than if you can start the quote or like the dialogue
and
from a
someone can finish
comedy and
it.
somebody finishes it. That's the best. You know you're in for a great movie.
Yeah, but Adam Sandler. Again, it's a comedic performance, but it was actually like it was a good performance for what he was trying to do. In
It's
playing the
totally
water boy,
outrageous.
it's so outrageous, but it's hilarious. It hit the mark exactly what he was trying to do for it. You know, mama told me that alligators are so angry because he got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
M- 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 Mama said that that foosball is the devil's sport. Just all of that. No, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders. Like all of that stuff, and then Farmer Fran, who you can't understand at
Yeah,
all.
not at all.
Uh, and also Kathy
You
Bates,
can do it.
Rob Schneider.
I'm
Uh,
Schneider.
Kathy Bates as
Okay,
the mom
yeah,
is also
hilarious.
hilarious.
Well, what she tells him about his dad and everything.
Dear Helen, who's Helen, Mama? That's my real
That's
name,
my
Bobby.
name.
Oh, that's nice. That's
That's
nice.
nice. Again, like the whole movie is quotable. The accent is recognizable. You hear anybody talking about like that, and you're like the Water Boy.
Yeah,
Again, it's the quotability. Adam Sandler hits the mark on that so often. Like that's really
yeah.
like his thing is getting things that are easy for people to memorize, like, especially with his voices, all the voices he does. Like it's
And I think
easy for
Waterboy
people to
is
get
like
into
the
them.
prime example, just him with his voices and
Yeah.
everything. Um, H2O, like that.
H2O.
Yeah, that is just perfect.
Gatorade.
I don't know if I could see anybody else doing that part.
No, no, I think it's a common theme that I see with a lot of Adam Sandler's movies, especially the old ones.
Yeah,
I think his newer material might not just be for me, but I don't like it too much. But he's legendary. I think he's like a top three name when it comes to just knocking out comedies. Just
yeah.
time and time and time again. Um, so again, and he plays roles that I don't think anybody can play, and it's also kind of the fact that he's usually kind of playing himself, which can be condemned a lot, but at the same time it's like no one else can play him because he is a character of his own. It's kind of
Yeah.
like asking if anybody else could play Jim Carrey in his roles, and you're like, no, nobody else can
Yeah,
play
no,
Jim Carrey.
absolutely not. It's funny that you say that because with Jim Carrey having just recently announced his retirement,
Yes, so sad. I
um,
watched that interview, that speech. It was like almost heartbreaking, but like in a
yeah,
good way. Like you're like, oh, I'm so happy for him.
yeah, he's done this for so long, and he's brought a smile to so many people's faces. But with the red carpet for Sonic 2, they actually talked to the producers on the red carpet and said, "What are you like? What are you gonna do as far as Robotnik and Jim Carrey's retirement?" They said, "We're not gonna recast. We absolutely can't."
No, no. I think
So
I've heard things. I'm not going to talk about it because it's already spoilers if I do so early of what they're going to be doing next. But
yeah,
no, yeah. It's sad, but it's also great at the same time because there was times where everybody's like, this guy's a real nut job, and he's had some of his moments, but it's cool to see that he has clarity in his life now, and he's really just kind of going flow with the rest of life. So
yeah. Um, we're on number 6, right?
6.
6, I had a movie you've already mentioned. I have The Other Guys at number 6.
Like, yeah,
Um,
again, not too much to talk about. Just great movie, great movie.
it's such a good movie. Again, it's so funny. Um, not now, Bob. Just stop smiling. Like just all like it's so.
Yeah. Oh, we
Uh,
didn't we didn't mention this earlier, but a really great scene is when he's talking about, if I was a lion and you were a tuna, I would go out of my way
that's
to
yeah.
eat you.
First
One
of
of the
all,
best
a
scenes.
lion swimming in the ocean.
I'm
It's
guessing we're
so
on the south coast of Africa. 20, 30, 40, 50-foot waves.
you lose that battle. You lose that battle 9 times out of 10. Even when they find his car,
Yeah.
the
Dirty
whole
Mike and the boys.
Dirty Mike and the boys, or how could you forget his ex-wife, Christina?
Yeah.
It's just
Christina.
there's so much of that movie is just so like what is happening here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's outrageous. But we got to stop. We'll go on about this movie forever. Like I said, it's the quotability of it. It's amazing. Um,
Number 5.
Number 5. All right, we're in the top 5. This one, it was one that I felt like it was a blockbuster for a comedy. You might not think it's as funny, but I think it came out kind of at a prime time for me.
Okay,
And the performances are great. I have 21 Jump Street, which
it's funny. It
it's
is.
it's funny. It's also, but I can go back and watch it so many times and not get tired of it because there's some comedies that I'll go back to and I'm like, like it loses its charm. I don't think this does, and I thought it was cool seeing Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. I don't think Channing Tatum is known as the funniest guy in the world, but he fed off of Jonah Hill so well in
And he
that they
is funny.
work together
He's
so good.
he does a lot of he does a lot of feel good movies, and he's funny in them too. So he does have
Yeah, but
the
he doesn't
ability to
have
do
that
it.
that kind of brand of comedy labeled to him. So when I
Yeah.
saw him with Jonah Hill, we're like, oh, this kind of gonna be like came out, shocked the world because he's just
There's
as funny as
also
Jonah Hill in that movie.
Ice Cube, who's hilarious
Ice
as the
Cube's
angry
hilarious in that.
police captain, that is in charge of them. And every scene he's mad at them. They can't do anything right. You
Yeah,
also get a great cameo in that with, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, with
coming
Johnny
back from
Depp
the
going back
original.
to the original
Yeah,
21 Jump Street. Hilarious. And you also have like just kind of great people throughout. You have Dave Franco playing the
he's
cool
so
kid.
funny. He's
So
so funny.
funny. I feel like that might have been the first time I've really seen Franco that I can remember. He might have had stuff before that, but I've gone
I
back and
want to
watched. But I
say
think it's the
this was.
first time I've seen him.
I want to say it was before he did Now You See Me.
It
So it because
definitely
he was
was.
a smaller role for him, and then he got bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So he was hilarious. Number 5, what do you got?
I have The Water Boy,
The Water Boy.
which
All right.
was really tough for me to decide because for me I have two Adam Sandler movies that I hold near and dear to my heart, and it was a decision of like which one do you think is funnier, because the other one for me is Billy Madison. Um, and I really love Billy Madison, but when I was looking at quoting the movie, it's Waterboy.
Yeah, yeah,
Waterboy
and
all day.
Billy Madison is incredibly funny, and we also have again so many just funny moments from other people in that as well. Like what
Chris
we talk
Farley
about, Chris Farley. Oh my God,
as
we
the
we quote that all the time. That's correct. Like,
and he's stripping. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think
it's
the
hilarious.
the funniest scene in that movie for me is when they're at the decathlon and they're doing you know, that answer is wrong, and everybody in here is now dumber for having listened to it. A simple no would have been okay, but for me, it's that one scene. But then looking at like the Water Boy, it's the whole
Yeah, the
movie.
whole movie has you rolling the entire
Yeah,
time.
yep.
All right.
Um, number 4.
Number 4. Okay. So this is kind of where I get into different territory. 4 and up, this was like no brainer in here. Everything else was competing for all these honorable mention spots. Like
Yeah,
everything from 5 and under was competing for honorable mentions, just so that you know how long my honorable mentions list is. But 4 and up was like no brainer for me. This is in
yeah.
here. Um, at number 4, I have This Is the End,
Okay,
which is a hilarious movie. I saw this one in theaters. I actually might have seen it with you. I think.
I think so.
I think I saw it with you. I think it was either opening weekend, second weekend. I don't remember, but it was like right when it first dropped, and I was because we saw like the all-star cast that we had here. We had
Yeah,
Seth Rogen, Jay, James Franco, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson, like, and then all the cameos that they have in there. They got Aziz, they
that
had
movie has so
Rihanna,
many
Kevin
cameos.
Hart, like
Michael
it's just
Cera.
Michael Cera, new level worth the funny. It's weird, it's grotesque. I mean, you see
Yeah,
Jonah Hill get taken down in a certain way by a demon. Like
by a demon.
it's
It
hilarious though.
the power of Christ compels you. Really, Jay?
Here, Jay.
Is it? Is
It's
it
not that
compelling?
compelling.
uh, don't forget Emma Watson has a
Yeah, with
fantastic cameo in that whole scene when she comes in. Channing Tatum. That's another
oh my
comedy for
God,
Channing
the
Tatum.
best
One of the
cameo.
funniest scenes in that movie. Is that
Takes off
Channing
his mask.
Tatum?
Hey guys.
Call him Channing Tate Yum. Also, it's funny. I was just talking with somebody about This Is the End, and after the apocalypse hits and everything, and you think, all right, this is the main cast. These are the people who survived, and then Danny McBride wakes up the next day, and like that scene where he's making breakfast is so ridiculous because he's like washing his feet with the water bottles,
Yeah.
and it's like, what is happening? Like, who
Freaking
wakes up and does that?
freaking hilarious. And a lot of the interactions, especially with Danny McBride, are
Yeah,
hilarious. I mean, he's just off the wall funny. Like
yeah.
again, the movie's very grotesque, so I can't get into the quotability of it, but there is
There's
so much to it.
if I'm thinking of the scene, it's the one with
You got
Seth
iPads
Rogen
in your
is
walls.
standing by. Yep, yep.
You got
Well, welcome to the 21st century, Buck
Buck
Rogers.
Rogers.
Yeah, it's like to read. It is so outrageous. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I,
and
I
it's a movie made for all these big name actors to die. Like it's like I think that's just hilarious in its own right. Because then every single one of them except for 2 of them die,
yeah,
and then it ends with Backstreet Boys because that's heaven. Heaven is a Backstreet Boys concert.
that's what I would wish for. At number 4, I have Ted 1.
Really? All right. Okay.
Yeah, I Ted 2 is really funny to me. Um, like I said, it feels like an extended Family Guy episode. But Ted 1 was not that. It was a comedy. You could tell it had Seth MacFarlane's, style of comedy and
Yeah.
everything. And he still voices Ted. But I love that story too. Like Mila Kunis is hilarious in it. Um, just that movie when it first came out was so everybody was singing the Thunder song when that movie came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was like you're a grown man with a teddy bear. Like what is this movie? Um, Also, you have him at the job, like when he first applies for the job
Yeah.
at the grocery store. Those scenes are hilarious. You got
It's also
guts.
we
I'm
need
promoting
guts.
you. Yeah,
Freaking
you're hired. I'm promoting
like
like everything.
also just like weird cameos and stuff. Like we had Ryan Reynolds in there. I don't know if you
Yes,
guys remember that Ryan
yes.
Reynolds is in this movie because it's only for like 2 seconds. It's only for like two
Mark
seconds.
Wahlberg's co-worker's boyfriend. Even
Kind of
that
boyfriend.
is that
He's
is
like
so
apparently I was
ridiculous
texting
because
some dude. He punched me in the face.
yeah, yeah. It like you worried? Nah.
Yeah.
Like it, um, I gotta look it up real quick because it's gonna drive me crazy.
The guy's
Who
name? Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
guy's name who
know.
played his coworker? Um,
I know because he's a big name. He's in such a lot of stuff.
as Guy. Yes. He does the voice of Joe on Family Guy, and he was the voice of
Yeah.
Kronk. I had to
Yeah.
double check and make sure I was right. Yeah, he voiced Kronk on The Emperor's New Groove. He is hilarious.
Super funny. So top three for some
Three,
time.
top three.
All right. I think this is going to be no surprise to anybody. People might be like, oh, why isn't this even number one? But Step Brothers. Step
Oh,
Brothers being like Will Ferrell's crowning achievement right there.
yeah.
Takes my number 3 spot.
I have a
I think
feeling I know what your like number one and number two are now.
you might. You might.
Yeah,
It goes kind of back and forth with those same two guys
yeah.
that I just did.
Um,
But yeah. I mean, I don't even think I need to speak on Step Brothers so much because I don't think I've really like, ever met anybody that didn't like Step Brothers or didn't know the lines from Step Brothers. So it's just so funny, so ridiculous.
yeah. Uh, and we're gonna get into Step Brothers in a minute. So
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
hold off because we're gonna
Yeah.
get into it. For number three, I have The Hangover,
Okay.
and it is just it, like you said, it took the comedy world by storm when it came out, and every time I watch it, it's so funny. It's just such an outrageous movie, and Zach Galifianakis is the biggest takeaway. Like they're all funny in that movie,
Yeah.
but he like steals every scene he's in. Baby Carlos,
Oh yeah. Remember the
just
baby Carlos shirts going around for the longest
yeah,
time?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just everything about that movie is so funny, and I think it still holds up to this day.
No, it definitely does. All right.
What do you have for number two?
Number 2, again, I don't think this is a surprising pick. I have Super Bad. Was that where you thought I was going?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I definitely know your number one now. Um, so this is really bad because Superbad isn't on my top 10 list, but it is like number one on my honorable mentions. Um,
I can kind of respect it. Like I said, this was like solidified for me, but I also like forgot to have the interview in mind, so I can't hate on you too much.
and that was the thing when it comes to Seth Rogen. I was like, I can't have all of Seth Rogen's filmography in my top 10.
Yeah, and
Like
it
this
sucks
is
because
just a
he's our brand of comedy. So but oh dude, Michael Cera, Jonah Hill, Emma Stone, Bill Hader,
yeah,
like Seth Rogen.
yeah. It is Christopher Mintz. That's another one that they're so funny in that, and it is highly quotable. You know, McLovin.
McLovin. Oh my god, McLovin's still going around to this day.
Yeah. Um, why'd you go with a regular like Muhammad? That was the most common name in the world. Read a book.
Read book.
It is a hilarious movie. And I think it's Jonah Hill's first big movie.
I think so too. Oh my god, it's crazy. You look back, like him, and Michael Cera. I mean, Michael Cera doesn't look all that different,
Yeah.
but like they were so young. They were so young. Even like Emma Stone, so young doing that.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah. And look at
McLovin.
them now.
Nobody even knows that guy's name. What's that guy's name? It's McLovin.
It's McLovin.
It's McLovin. You don't even know it, and you're usually way better with names than I am. It's
Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Yeah.
okay. Nobody wants to
Uh,
say that. It's
who
McLovin.
has a cameo in Neighbors.
Well, he's a character, and like he's not a cameo.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he's
a
like
very
supporting
minor.
cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supporting
Very
cast.
minor.
But he's
Um,
hilarious in that too.
He was the villain in Kick-Ass.
Kick ass, yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
Kick ass
2.
Kick ass 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's hilarious. He's still just as funny in Neighbors, but like I said, he goes by the same name till this day because of the first role he played. So
McLovin.
that's how legendary that was. What you got?
For number 2? Is that what
2.
we're on?
Yep.
This is the end.
I already talked about it. There's
It's
not
just
much
such a
you can say.
star-studded cast. And I think, sometimes when you get into, and another like honorable mention that I have that has a star-studded cast was Grown Ups. Didn't make my top 10.
No.
But when it comes to both of those movies, you get such a great cast where each of them are pulling their weight with the jokes. Craig Robinson is just as funny as Jonah Hill, just as funny as Seth and Danny McBride and James Franco, like all and Jay, like they all have different styles of comedy a little bit. Like
yeah, I mean
Jay's very dry.
they all kind of run in the same circle.
Yeah.
So there's like that with them, but yeah, there's definitely a difference there. I mean, Seth and James feed off each other really well because
Yep.
they're used to working with each other the most. But Danny, who's just grotesque, cursing all the time, just going in, is so rude usually, going into things. It's hilarious. Again, Jay has that dry brand of comedy. Craig, being the only
Craig
black
is so
guy
funny.
in there,
And
has a
even in the
different brand
beginning,
because he still brings that with him, even though he's usually surrounded by a white cast. So,
and you get his
he's
singing at the beginning,
yeah.
to Rihanna and
Take
everything, and
your
then he gets
pennies
slapped.
off. Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah,
So
it's too good of a movie for me.
I
What do you got
think
for number 1?
I think we're gonna have the same number one. If we don't,
Nope.
I might kill it. No?
Nope.
No.
Nope. There's a movie that I didn't mention that was on your top 10 list. So
My
that
number
you've already said.
one is Anchorman.
Yeah, I know. I knew it. I knew it.
How do you not have Anchorman on here?
It was a very tough call, but then it's also, what do I go? Anchorman 1, Anchorman 2. It's very tough. It's very tough.
It doesn't matter. Anchorman. I don't care 1 or 2. Either one of them takes spot. The movie as a whole, ridiculous, star-studded. The ending scene alone puts it up there. Ending scene alone. Steve Carell playing Brick. It's hilarious.
Paul Rudd
improv every line. They didn't give him a single line. They just gave him scenes and play it how you want. Do whatever you want to do. And it speaks to how great he is because he is hilarious. Hilarious in this.
It is a super funny movie. There's a ton of cameos in that first one. Danny Trejo's in it as the bartender towards the end. And it's super funny because then he's talking to him and he gives him all this advice. He's like, sorry, I don't speak Spanish. And he was speaking perfect English. It's such an outrageous movie. Desk made of mahogany, leather bound books. It's very nice for you. It is an outrageous movie and it is super funny.
All right.
But my number one is a different Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah, I figured it out already.
It's Step Brothers.
Yeah. I mean, respectable, but I think Anchorman should still at least be in the top 10. In the top 10.
Every time I watch Step Brothers, it's like I've never seen it before. It's so quotable. The entire thing, just the opening of them, like the wedding and everything. I'm not gonna call him dad, even if there's a fire. His brother, the Catalina wine mix, everything in that
Gotta
movie.
lead a wine mixer.
The I got a stomach full of white dog shit, and you laid this shit on me. Like just all of that, like the playground scene at the end with them going back and beating up the kids. Um, the wife,
Oh,
that's
hilarious.
and the supporting cast is good. The dad, you know, the one word that I use almost daily, I got from that movie. You jagaloon, your failures. Like just everything about that movie makes me laugh so hard. Do we just become best friends?
Yep.
Yep. You're not gonna get Randy Jackson's autograph.
You touch my drum set? Yeah, I'm not even getting into that scene. We're not getting into it. It takes too long.
Cops doesn't come on till 4. Like like so much of that movie is so outrageous. And the scene that follows that after they fight, the parents
Yeah.
show up. Is that my boat? That is also that song, Boats and Hose.
Boats and a hose.
There's a reason. There's a reason why Step Brothers is number 1 for me. I can
Yeah,
quote the entire movie.
it's definitely up there. Uh, again, it made my list. It made my list for sure. It was number 3 for me.
Yeah.
So I see why. I just think it's a crime not to have Anchorman in your top 10.
Listen, there's a lot of movies that I felt really bad not getting up.
Trust me, I feel that. Like I had so many more Adam Sandler movies. I had so many more Will Ferrell movies. So many more. I don't even have Jim Carrey in here. Like, but like he's in my
Yeah.
honorable mentions like 3 times. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
there's a lot.
Ace
There's a
Ventura,
lot.
like that's a classic.
Yeah.
I had a lot of other classic comedies in mind that I think are super funny, but trying to get a top 10, it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of comedy movies out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do you want to bring us into the concept? You want to give everybody a rundown of what we're doing?
Yeah. All right. Let's get into this. So, this is a concept that we like to do in our free time. We think our audience would love to hear, maybe do in their free time as well. Concept that we call blank check. So, what this is that we will take a movie, or we'll take a genre of movie. Say you have a blank check. Hollywood give you a blank check. Make this movie for this genre. You can pick your writer, director, producer, cast, cameos, support cast, whole 9 yards.
Yep.
What are you doing? We've gotten into this debate for comedy. We've done it for horror. We've done it for action. It's really fun to do. And we'd love for you guys to see us get into it now with comedy. So I think you got to start from the top. You got to start from the beginning. When I'm doing this, I always like to go with who's writing this for me, because that I feel like dictates everything else that I'm gonna do. Who am I gonna pick to direct it? Because you can't always just pick star stud. You can't just do star studded. Everything's got to make sense because you want a great movie. So I'm gonna pick my vibe. The vibe usually comes from the writers, and I actually did a duo that I don't think has ever paired together before. With Seth Rogen and Seth MacFarlane. Uh, the reason I went with these two is because Rogen is my brand of comedy and probably my favorite brand of comedy. I don't think there's a movie he has that I do not die laughing at. As well as, again, I go back to like Ted 2, Family Guy, all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like the setup. I like the gags. I like the dumb things that come out of this. And I think it can work well with Seth Rogen's outrageous writing to then accompany it with skits. So it's more like McFarlane's going to do my storyboard and Rogen is going to do my script.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I agree with all of that. Seth MacFarlane's, gags and his setups to punchlines are great. And Rogen is hilarious. I think that's been proven. You can if our top 10 lists are any example of how we feel about Seth Rogen.
Yeah. goaded. So again, with Rogan and McFarlane writing, I have to pick a kick-ass director with a huge comedy background that can also do the outrageous stunts that they can and pull off what they're going to be putting in their script. So I went with Adam McKay. For those of you who do not know who Adam McKay is, he did a lot of Will Ferrell's early work. He did Step Brothers, he did Talladega Nights. Um, Super hilarious. And again, he's not afraid to go outrageous with those jokes, which is the type of energy that you're going to need when it gets to, again, someone like Rogan and McFarlane writing this. Um,
Yeah,
Especially because when you see the cast that I'm going to have, uh, it'll make sense of why I'm pairing these guys together. So when I get into my lead roles, I got different categories here. Of I have lead roles, supporting cast, cameos, and possible cameos, because I don't
okay.
want to overflow my movie with talent or put too many people in here, but just people that I think would work well together with the people that I have. So for my leads, I have two. I have Seth Rogen, who stars in almost every movie that he writes, and for good reason. He's hilarious. The energy he brings on screen is amazing. And we have, to my knowledge, he has never worked with Will Ferrell, who I want as my other lead. Two
That
of
makes sense.
two of the biggest names in comedies that kind of run their own kind of squads, kind of like
Yeah.
it's almost as if comedy is really clicky, where people work with the same people over and over again. So you have Rogan, which basically takes the This Is the End cast, and Will
Hmm.
Ferrell that takes a lot of ex SNL guys and the Anchorman cast.
Yeah.
Um, and again, they kind of run in their own circle, so it's weird that you see any of them really pair up, let alone the two kind of leaders of those groups. So I want to see their energy together. I think they would work really well together. It's just, I think the chemistry would be amazing, seeing them feed off of each other. Will Ferrell being as outrageous as he is, and just kind of Seth Rogen being that awkward guy trying to like feeding off of it. I think it would be great to see on screen. And I don't think there would be a moment that you're not laughing.
Yeah, I can definitely see the two of them having a good rapport and going with that back and forth. Um, Especially with, and it sounds weird saying it, but Rogan would be your more grounded
Yeah,
character, um, which is weird to say, but Will Ferrell is so good at being that out there and really going big with something. So yeah, I
yeah.
think the two of them would be
They would
great.
mesh so well, and I think it's a crime that I haven't seen them on screen after they've been in the industry for like 20 years each.
Yeah,
Again, they're veterans, and they're two legendary names, like top
yeah.
five for sure. Um, Now, so for my supporting cast, I have five names. Now, this where it gets a little weird. So for mine, I think you built a story for yours already. I really didn't, because I wanted to kind of see where I was going, kind of want to hear what you were gonna do before, so I can
Okay,
kind of figure out what I was gonna do. But I kind of put names that have worked with these people before, or I think would have energy that would work well with them. Um, so I have Mark Wahlberg, again, not known
okay.
as the comedy actor, but we see he
But
does
he's
comedies,
hilarious.
and he's hilarious, especially like as their like good-looking best friend, jockey type guy, coming with a
Yep,
lot of aggression on screen. I think he'd be hilarious. Obviously, he's worked with Will Ferrell and the other guys. He's worked with Seth MacFarlane and Ted. So you already have that chemistry there. And again, I don't think it
yep.
would take a lot for him and Rogan to connect. So I think that would be great. I kind of struggled. I wanted a female in my supporting cast, and I struggled and thought of who did I think would work best with these guys.
Hmm.
And I kind of went for an out there pick that might everybody might not think of, but I have Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, yeah. I
Aubrey
could see that.
Plaza was in Parks and Rec. Um,
She was fantastic in Parks and Rec.
Fantastic, hilarious, and you know she did such a great job of playing like that love interest with Chris Pratt, and just her brand of awkward comedy and whatnot. I think she would feed well with them. And just she's such an out there character as well, while still being so monotone that it's hilarious. And seeing her being a driving force, getting these people into like crazy adventures or doing crazy stuff, especially her again as a love interest, maybe for Marky Mark or Seth Rogen or something. Kind of just like pulling these guys into weird situations. I think it'd be hilarious, and having her commentary. And she's very much that female friend that hangs out around all dudes. Like she's
Yeah,
very much that, and I can see her in that role, just being like, "Oh, I'm one of the boys. Yeah, I'm one of them."
she
Like,
definitely has that feel whenever she's doing like comedy and everything. Um, you ever seen that movie she did, or have you seen clips where she played a nun?
oh no,
It's
no, I
such a
haven't
funny
seen.
movie. It's so funny.
I've seen a very select amount of things that she's in. I saw one movie where she like played a stalker. I saw her host an award show. Funniest award show I've ever
Yeah,
seen in my entire life.
yeah,
Hilarious. Like it was just off the walls. Obviously, it wasn't like the Oscars or something. Like it was a minor award show. Funniest award show. She had like a satanic ritual going on in the middle of it. Like again, she just doesn't care. She's so off the wall, and I'd love to see her in more things. And again, I think she works well with the cast that I have so far. So my next supporting actor, I have a guy that you don't see on screen. He is a on-stage comic.
okay.
He does stand up, but I would love to see him on screen. He's one of my favorites that are still going right now.
I might know where you're
Uh,
going.
you probably do, because you probably got to narrow down to two guys right now,
I
and
haven't
it
narrowed
is
down to
one
two
of them.
guys, right? I
Yeah,
haven't narrowed down to two
yeah.
guys right now.
One that I think is slightly funnier than the other, but Tom Segura.
Oh, really? I thought you were going Bert.
You thought I was going
I
Bert?
thought you were gonna go
I
Bert.
was I was torn because I thought like someone like Bert would work so well, I think, with somebody like Mark Wahlberg and Aubrey, but I thought Tom might do so well with Rogan and Farrell,
Yeah,
because Tom's very low key, but it's just he has those punchlines
yeah.
that just really get you every time. Um, and I would love to see him on screen. I would love to see him take on acting roles. He's just hilarious. I mean, if
He is.
anybody's seen his podcast, he's hilarious there. That he does with Bert, Two Bears, One
Yeah.
Cave.
Two bears, one cave.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. All of his stand up, Ball Hog specifically, is
Yep.
hilarious. Forget the one he did before that, but his last two stand ups were two of the funniest stand ups I've ever seen in my life.
He also does a podcast with his wife too, uh, Your Mama's House, which is so funny as well.
I have to check that one out then. Again,
Yeah,
I love him, and I'd love to see him in a movie role. I think he feeds well. So, next supporting guy, I have Jonah Hill. I don't think it's
that
any
makes
secret
sense.
the type of chemistry that Rogan and Hill have together. Again,
Yeah.
he kind of gave him his first big role, and ever since, again, he's been running in that circle with him. Jonah Hill is a great actor. If you've seen him in Wolf of Wall Street and War Dogs, those are like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say super serious roles because he has his moments, but they're not comedies, not strict comedies, and
And
he actually does a great
yeah,
job playing parts.
Wolf of Wall Street is a straight drama, and
Yeah,
he's so good in that movie.
so good, and he still has that same energy of that he's him. He's
Yeah.
hilarious. And again, him and Rogan, we already know how they work together. I'd love to see him kind of be like in This Is the End, where he's like, "Oh, I'm the sweetheart, like America's sweetheart, Jonah Hill." Um, so that kind of energy is what I'd be looking to get from him. And this one was kind of a pick that I kind of just threw in there. He might switch to a cameo because I was kind of between him and someone else being in there for that spot. But he's so funny, and we mentioned him earlier being a highlight of the Hangover series, Ken Jeong.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real throw in the dark, but he's never not funny. He doesn't really have experience with these guys, but I think he's someone that's funny around anybody. I don't think he's ever not funny, even when
Look
you
at
go
him
to
in
his class.
Community.
Yeah, yeah. Which such an underrated sitcom. I love that
It really
show.
is.
I've rewatched it so much. Like I was quoting that show before I watched it because the YouTube highlights,
And he's
hilarious.
so quotable in that
Yeah,
as a supporting
Senior
character.
Chang,
Yeah.
Senior Chang. Yeah, and he steals the show anywhere he goes. So I don't think you can go wrong with him. I might bump him down to cameo because there might be other characters that work better there, but I had him in there. I think playing him as the wild friend, the friend that's gonna like get out there, do crazy stuff, say weird stuff, and everybody's gonna pick on him. Kind of being like that. I think is a cool
Yeah.
role for him. So now I have my cameos, and for this one, I kind of just wanted guys that are just really weird. I wanted guys that you're gonna look at it on screen for like a minute, and you're gonna be like, "That was the funniest part of the movie." Like,
Okay. What do you got?
so I have the god of cameos first, Hannibal Buress. This
Yeah.
guy was in everything for a good couple of years, and nobody knows why. He literally was my barber in 2K. Why? Why was he my barber in 2K? Why
Why
was
is
he
he
the
the gym
cop in
teacher?
Neighbors?
Why
Yeah,
is he the gym teacher in Spider-Man? Yeah. I don't know. I
and
don't
he's
know.
hilarious. Anything he does, so funny. Like just even in Spider-Man again, which not a kids movie, but like PG 13 area,
Yeah.
which isn't really his brand. He's like, I don't know why I got to show this. I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now, but like it's just like
Yeah.
he's hilarious. And there was a while where I was like, dude, he must just go to every audition, just no matter what it is. Like it could tell him to play a 7-year-old white lady. I'm going to that audition because he was in everything for a
Well, and then he
couple
was a
years
main
there.
cast in Tag.
Tag, yeah. And again, one like the funniest person in there because like you can't go wrong. If anybody watched the Eric Andre show, I mean, Eric Andre's funny in his own right, but Hannibal Buress as well is just,
He's just so dry.
it's so dry, and he's saying the most outlandish things without changing a single expression on his face, barely even moving his lips, and you're like, what the hell? Uh, so I had to give Will Ferrell another person from his side. Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Again, one of those people that can get on screen, just say the craziest stuff, leave, and you'll be like, what just happened? What is going on here? I need to know. If you ever see him in like 40-Year-Old Virgin, or if you see him in Anchorman, he's can play such a great character. And I think a cameo from him, especially in his older age now, he doesn't really do too much, but seeing him in a cameo in a Will Ferrell movie can't go wrong. I think he's kind of the funniest guy out of his usual supporting cast.
Yeah.
And then I had to pull another one from Rogan. So another guy that I think, it'd be cool. Maybe like they start a fight with him or something. Danny McBride.
That's a good one.
Just, a really aggressive scene between Danny McBride and Mark Wahlberg, I think is what I need in my life.
That would actually be like super funny.
Hilarious. I want them to get into like
Uh,
a fight in like a Wendy's parking lot. Like,
and I can see that. I can see it
yeah.
happening. And I don't know why. Like I can just envision the two of them just screaming at each other,
And then I
like
want
in a
Aubrey
Wendy's
Plaza in
parking
the
lot.
background, just like egging him on. Both of them. Just,
100, because that's what she would egg both sides on, and then you'd
yeah.
get like, whose side are you on? Like, I just like to watch fights. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Uh, so then I'll just run through these. But I have 3 people that I was like, I might want them in here, but again, I don't want to throw out too many names because then my list gets too long. Probably like how yours is right now, because I know you have 1,000 minds going through your head. But I call this like my category. Regina Hall, who I think is funny. Possible cameo, possible maybe somebody's like love interest, but kind of on the side, maybe not doing too much, but like appears or whatever. Giving her a couple scenes, I think is hilarious. Tiffany Haddish, maybe while Aubrey Plaza got Mark Wahlberg's back, she got Danny McBride's back. Seeing that interaction, hilarious. And then I have one more, and this was the person that I was going back and forth between him and Ken Jeong, was Craig Robinson.
Craig is hilarious.
Craig is so funny. Like if you look back at him in like Pineapple Express,
Or
he's like
even Zach and Mary make a porno.
yeah. Oh my god, I forgot about that movie. Oh my
Yeah,
god, yeah, he's so funny. He's just like low key and just he's so sweet, and then he'll just say things, and you're like, what the hell?
yeah.
I think he do a great job within that group. I just kind of really wanted Ken Jeong in there, so I was going back and forth between those two for a while. So yeah,
With the cast, with the writer and the director, I think you'd watch the money roll in.
yeah. I think I have a good setup. I think you might have an even better one because you had your plot thought out. I'm still thinking of mine, and even after this is done shooting, I'll probably still keep thinking of mine because I think this is I think it's gold with the cast. So
So with mine, I definitely want your input. I'll give you a lot of the names that I'm thinking of and everything. I do have a plot. I do have a story idea,
okay,
and mine is definitely going to be different. Where mine's is an ensemble cast, so that's the route I'm going. It's going to have a huge cast. Um, I know that going in. So right away, my writer is Seth MacFarlane.
okay, so
Um,
we're on the same page there.
we're on the same page. I'm not necessarily looking for a like Family Guy, cutaway constantly, but I think he goes to show in Ted One. Reason why Ted One's on my top 10 list. He doesn't always do the cutaway. He's a
Yeah,
fantastic writer. Um, so I would definitely get him to come in here. Also, when it comes to you know pop culture references and everything, he hits.
yeah,
The
there's
same
no one
as
that does it better. No one does it better than
the
him.
only people I could think would be the creators of South Park.
Yeah,
Like just staying on top of pop culture and just like hitting all of that. And I definitely Seth MacFarlane. Um, for my director, I'm actually torn.
okay,
Um, I have two. One doesn't have as big of a filmography, but is hilarious and has done a big movie and has another big movie coming out. My other director has done a lot of comedies, and they're usually like action and they have a lot more going on. Um, so my two directors are either Taika Waititi, who directed Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok, and he's doing Thor: Love and Thunder,
hmm
or Sean Levy, who just did the Adam Project, which we talked about, but he's also done Cheaper by the Dozen. He's done Night at the Museum, Real Steel, Pink Panther. I look at him, especially because he did Cheaper by the Dozen, where he's worked with such a large cast. But
yeah, that makes sense. But it's the brand of comedy that gets me there. But I think your point might be proven right after he does this next Deadpool.
right, and that's part of why I'm like, oh, maybe he can. But at the same time, Taika's hilarious, and
Oh
he
yeah.
also acts. I know his brand of comedy, and I think Taika might do good directing something written by McFarlane.
hmm
So I'm kind of leaning a lot more towards Taika, especially just he's a good filmmaker. I mean, Thor was awesome. Like the colors and everything. Like he's an awesome director. Uh, and it's also a director that really none of the people on my list have worked with. So it wouldn't be somebody that like you'd get a different feel. I feel like out of these actors after
Okay.
this.
I was going for familiarity. You're trying to pump out something different.
I'm trying to pump out something that feels familiar but is also different, right?
Okay.
So you don't walk into it and like, oh, oh, this seems familiar, but it's like, oh, I haven't seen this before, and it's worth a rewatch. Um, I also have two producers for mine that I feel like would give a lot of input and help steer this. Um, Judd Apatow, who is huge in the comedy game. He's produced, you know, Seth Rogen. He's produced for Will Ferrell. He's huge when it comes to comedy. My other one would be Jordan Peele,
That's a
and I
good one, especially if you're looking for substance. If you're looking for substance.
and I feel like both of them as producers are gonna look back at the script and just the cast and the production, and everything, and have their input, which will help steer things in the right direction.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially, I feel so far I'm getting the vibe since you're taking the director of Thor: Love and Thunder, Jordan Peele production. Weird that you have the Seth MacFarlane writing in there, but I guess it goes along with the jokes and stuff. But you're going for more substance. Well, I think I'm going for more of a laugh fest.
And I think that's where the writing is going to give us the laugh fest, but
hmm
we're still going to get the, you know, oh, this is still a movie. you know,
Yeah.
like
I didn't talk production. I didn't talk production, but if I was for a studio, I was gonna say I was just gonna do a studio, not a specific person. I was gonna do Happy Madison.
yeah,
Because when I
yeah,
get into that classic Adam Sandler stuff, again, he was doing outlandish stuff back then too. Again, I think they would push that gag factor even more. But go back into what you were saying.
yeah. 100. I agree with you on Happy Madison. So for with that being said, for going Seth MacFarlane, Taika, I'll just set it in. Taika's my director, and you know we have Judd Apatow and Jordan Peele doing the producing. My story is a high school reunion,
Okay.
so feels familiar, right? We're gonna, uh, bringing these characters in. They're now going back to their hometown. Let's say a lot of them, some of them have lived there, some of them have stayed, others have moved away. They've gone. They've lived their lives, and now they're back for like the I don't know 20th 25th anniversary or whatever, or more. Could be 30,
Mm,
however long we decide. Um, our main cast is going to be the class, right, or the a group of the class. But then our supporting cast is going to be, well, their parents still live in town. So who are their parents? Who are their teachers? Who's the principal? Are any of these teachers retired that are now going to this reunion? And those are going to be a lot of like the cameos as well as the supporting cast. Um,
mm,
and the other thing is coming in, we also get, now that they're all older and they're coming back and they're bringing new people with them. Well, who are they dating? Who's the significant others if they have one,
mm.
and stuff like that. Um, I have names that I want right away.
All right. Tell me your big names.
Will Ferrell,
Of course.
Seth Rogen.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page. Um, Ryan Reynolds.
In a main role, you want Ryan Reynolds in main role?
Yeah, he's your part of your graduating class that like Paul Rudd never aged. Um, and you're like, why does he still look so good? Um, he's your pretty boy. Um, I really want to put Sandler in there. And Sandler has also the experience with Will Ferrell. I mean, they both came from SNL,
See,
and we haven't seen them together since SNL.
it's interesting, and I wanted to put Sandler in mine so bad because again, when I talked about two of the biggest names, they run in their own circles. Sandler's one of those as well. While I
Yeah,
said one has Anchorman, the other one has This Is the End. Sandler has Grown Ups. Those circles are pretty consistent throughout their entire careers. So I would love to see them work together. The only reason I really didn't have Sandler in there was because before we got to recording, we said modern, them right
yeah,
now. We're taking these people right
yep,
now. Um, and again, I'm not really a fan of Adam Sandler's more modern stuff. Maybe if he's working with different production and working with different people, that same energy can come out of him. But just based off of what I've seen from him lately, it was the reason I didn't have him. But I can respect the pick, especially with the cast you have around him.
yeah. Maya Rudolph is somebody that I would love to have in. She's hilarious in everything. Did you see the skit she did on SNL where she played Beyonce doing the Hot Ones challenge?
Yeah,
It's so funny. Um, it's funny looking at my list. A lot of them are like
SNL.
old SNL people. Yeah. Um, who I wanted so many. I want so many people in this. Um, I might go Jack Black.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah,
one. That's a really good one.
yeah. I might go
I can
Jack
respect.
Black to
I can
to
respect that a
really.
lot.
And then the other one to kind of maybe round out my uh from that class is either Ken Jong or Randall Park.
I think maybe with the vibe you're going for, maybe Randall Park.
Yeah.
I think with who you have right now, I think Randall Park might be a little better. Ken Jeong might be somebody like again a cameo or something, or you see,
Yeah. So I will say the opportunity to have, um, again, they're back at their hometowns. Jonah could be playing somebody like Jack Black's brother,
Mhm.
or Zach Galifianakis could be playing, a brother. Um, and then looking at, Melissa McCarthy I would love to have Melissa McCarthy in as playing like one of the wives that, you know, um, maybe that's, you know, Will
She's
Ferrell's
definitely
wife or
super aggressive, yelling at him the entire time.
100%, 100%. Make her Zach Galifianakis' wife. They worked together in The Hangover.
Yeah, they did. That was his love in The
Yeah,
Hangover 3.
yeah, and I think it could work. But have her yelling and he's like just taking it. Yeah, that would be so funny. Um, there's also an opportunity to bring in some younger cast, like if somebody's coming like Will Ferrell and he's got like 6 kids.
Yeah,
He
kind
has
of
to,
like in Grown Ups, they bring in younger cast to play their kids and whatnot.
yeah, and I would cast the kid who played in the Adam Project, the
So
younger
funny.
Reynolds. He's so funny.
You're gonna play younger Reynolds, play younger Reynolds again?
Might have to. And then how does he have a kid? He doesn't look that old. Um, I also looked at a lot of older actors, and I think they're perfect for playing the teachers that they had.
Hmm.
So, somebody like Martin Short, um, Danny DeVito as the gym teacher. Would tell me that
No,
wouldn't be
nothing
hilarious?
but the gym teacher. It couldn't be anything else.
You know what? He could be the history teacher because I feel like history teachers when I was in high school were always the craziest teachers. Um, like for no
He
reason, they would
he
just,
does look like a history teacher. I think I've had
yeah,
a history teacher that looked like him, just double his size.
like him jumping on the desk and yelling about like World War II
Yeah,
and just yeah. Um, I think let me see, Jim Carrey as a teacher. He's a lot older now.
he's definitely the English teacher. He's
Yeah,
definitely an English teacher.
I
Just spouting bullshit the entire time.
um,
Or theater,
Wahlberg
something
Wahlberg could be
liberal.
another main cast member, like opposite Reynolds. He's that,
The bully, like he was the bully or something.
and now Reynolds is like he looks good. He's older and he looks great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. Um, Henry Winkler's another older actor who could play a teacher, um, your math teacher or something. Um, who I
bro.
there's
If you don't have George Lopez teaching Spanish,
I have George Lopez on this list too. Him and Cedric the Entertainer is another one. Cedric's your
that's a
your your
good
music
one.
teacher.
It's a
You
really
know,
good one.
um, Damon Wayans could be hilarious in this as well. Um, you know, maybe he didn't go to the school. Maybe he's Cedric's kid. He's younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, um, Nick Offerman's also. He's got the look to play a teacher. He could be the principal even.
Nick Offerman. That is a good one,
Yeah,
actually.
that dry humor as the principal. I could see him just similar to like Michael Keaton in uh the other guys, just
Yeah,
dry and like making all the announcement. It's so funny, and he just like doesn't get it what he's saying or why he's saying it.
that's
Um,
cool. It's cool though that we both have a Parks and Recs character that isn't the same character, especially from a show that I don't think gets enough recognition, and we both have a
no,
character from there.
it doesn't. And Nick Offerman is so funny in that. Aubrey Plaza and they're so funny together,
Yeah,
even.
there's a couple select episodes where they're like it's those two paired up, and they're hilarious.
Um, couple of other older people as I'm scrolling down now. Billy Crystal, um, so funny, and then John Lovitz, who's another older SNL cast member. And again, and these people could even be not necessarily the teacher. It could be their parent, like, oh, hey dad, hey mom, I haven't, Yeah, I know it's been a while,
Yeah.
uh, just the opportunity to have so many people cameo in this, even just looking at like that now they're back in town, so the whole thing isn't going to be the high school reunion. They're back in town, similar to Grown Ups. They're all there.
Yeah.
uh they walk into the coffee shop and they see uh I don't Tracy Morgan's working. He's the barista at the Starbucks. um that would be such a funny scene.
I would never go to that Starbucks. They would fail every health code violation. They got a F. They got an F sitting on the window and they still open.
I could see a cool cameo. That crazy kid you went to school with, like being Johnny Knoxville as just a cameo, like doing some crazy stunt for no reason, coming in. You're like, what is he still doing this? Like like he never left the town, doesn't have a
Yeah.
job, and he's just like,
Like you just see him like at the skate park or something, just with a bunch of like 12-year-olds.
yeah. It's like that skit with oh, what's his name? Um, he was in Grown Ups, full cast.
Oh,
What
I
is
don't
his
remember his.
name?
Oh, Buscemi.
Yes, Steve Buscemi. That skit that he had where he was in high school and he was undercover and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey kids with the skateboard," you're like, "You're totally not a high school kid. What are you doing?" Yeah, just Johnny Knoxville at the skate park. Totally. I feel like it writes itself.
Yeah.
And I have such a long list of other people that like would be hilarious as cameos, like Nick Kroll.
That's a really good one. Nick Kroll's hilarious.
Yeah, or somebody like Seth Green,
Oh my god, I
who's
never even
such
thought
a
about Nick Kroll like writing or producing or anything.
that's another
I
one. Yeah,
should have. That's a really good one, actually.
yeah. Seth Green as a cameo because it's so out of left field. Um, and I haven't seen him in like so long that it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even younger cast like Aquafina, um, Regina Hall is another one that you know somebody's sister or somebody's wife, um, that has a supporting cast member, um, that I think would be so funny.
Why do I see her dating Will Ferrell?
That could be funny.
I think that'd be hilarious.
Chris Tucker.
It's been a
Um,
while. It's been a while since Tucker.
yeah, yeah. Um, there's so many people, and I think that concept gives us the opportunity to really say, yeah, let's just throw everyone at the wall, and
It'll make some money somehow.
it
Yeah.
definitely will. And I think even those like cameos, those smaller ones, those are going to be the scenes that are quoted. That's going to be the ones that's like, oh, who was your favorite cameo? And it's like, oh, it was I don't it was Kat Dennings. You know what I mean? Like it was Kat Dennings. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't know. There's just the opportunities to really just have so many people in this. Like Anchorman, you get that Anchorman 2,
That final scene,
the
yeah.
fight scene. Yeah. You're just like, did you notice John C. Riley in that? I was like, no, I was watching like Will Smith and Vince Vaughn. Um, yeah, the
Yeah.
Minotaur.
Are we just gonna ignore that? That is the ghost of Stonewall Jackson. So
Oh
many things I
man.
want to say, so many things I want to ask you.
And you get, especially with the big three of like Will Ferrell, Seth Rogen, and Adam Sandler, the opportunity for cameos from Rob Schneider, David Spade, um, you know, Craig Robinson, all of these other people,
Mhm.
um, John C. Riley, would just, and not necessarily even having them work with the person, like having David Spade be in a scene with Adam Sandler, mixing them up and saying, no, John C. Riley's going to have the scene with Adam Sandler, and we're going to put David Spade in a scene with Seth Rogen, um, and really just like mixing them all up together and getting different different jokes and different like vibes from seeing these people actually finally work together. Because
Yeah.
like you said, comedy's super clicky.
Yeah, for some reason, as we've been talking about that for like probably like a year now, where we're like, you know what? I've never seen this person work with this person. You know, I've never seen this person work with this person either. And it's like, I'm seeing a
Yeah.
pattern here. They all kind of work with the same people. But yeah, I like the concept. I think it's an interesting direction of where you're going for kind of like, you know, the cash grab thing. We have so many different people, but it's you're writing, you're producing, and you're directing is where you're pulling substance out of these people. So it seems like you're having a good middle ground there.
Yeah.
To where again, you should have a lot of substance to go along with the just the magnitude of what you're going for, so
And
it
I
doesn't
think that's
feel
the
like a
other.
cash grab.
Yeah. It's gonna initially you're gonna like you're gonna see the cast and you're like the end of that trailer where you see starring so and so and then it's just a list of like because they're all cameo, it's
Yeah.
just like and all these people, Tina Fey. I was like, what? Like just all of these other people, Anna Faris. Like, what is going on in this movie? Um, and then, like you said, having it, but leaving that movie after watching it and saying that was actually a good movie.
Yeah.
That was a fun movie. So
Well, I think we both built pretty decent movies here. I think I would pay to see it. I would pay to see both of them. Uh,
I would 100% pay to see both of them. And
so
I would love to hear anybody listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave it in the comments. Do you like these concepts? What would you do? What would you change? What is yours? And kind of, feed off of that.
yeah, yeah. That again, this was always a fun interaction for us that we like to do pretty often. So you know, we'd love for you guys to engage as well. You know, we're always open to answering our comments and stuff, as well as you know, we have other platforms that we're posting to. You might see clips of this on Instagram. We're going to be posting a lot more on TikTok with us doing a concept segment this week. We are going to do any news or any reviews that we're putting on TikTok. So go ahead, check us out over there where we're going to be reviewing Moon Knight and going over some other news and such. Um, so yeah, check that out if you're missing the news that we're posting this week, as well as we will want to hear some of your opinions on there about this concept that we're doing. So this was Blank Check. I hope you guys had a really great time with it. Um, and hopefully you like it. And we can do other concept videos with you guys as well. You know, ones that, you know, other
Yep.
types of conversations we've had. There's tons of them that we do. Or if you guys want to hear us do this with other genres, please let us know in our comment sections, DMs, anywhere. So,
Yeah.
um,
Thank you for listening.
yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening to the 4th episode of Beer and Skittles, and we'll see you next time.
See you.